Okay guys, welcome back. Let's wrap up our list of muscles and talk about the hip, thigh, and leg muscles, okay? So we're going to start from the top and in the back and go with the glutes, okay? Now we want to know our full names, Gluteus Maximus, because there are other names, Gluteus Medius, and so on. There's lots of others. Okay, so generally, the Gluteus Maximus is going to have its beginnings up here on the hip bone. That would be the origin, and the insertion is going to be on the side, kind of in the back, kind of on the side of the femur. Okay, so that whole leg, that femur, is going to be manipulated and pulled closer to that hip bone. Okay, so here we have squat motion, right? The motion as the person goes down, right? Well, that's not what we're really talking. We're talking about when we stand up, right? When we stand up, those femur bones are pulled backward. That's extension of the femur, right? Extension of the leg as a whole, right? We're not talking about the knee right now. We're talking about what the gluteus maximus is doing to that femur, okay? Let's take this one over here. We've got a young lady. She's got her torso in this direction, and the legs are down here. And in particular, you notice that her legs are together, right? They're together in the middle. Okay, so they're already adducted. They're already in the adducted position. Okay, one of the other motions you're going to see from the gluteus maximus is the abduction motion. You notice her leg is going out to the side, okay? So not only is there extension of the thigh or extension of the femur, okay? There's also abduction. Abduction is taking away, right? So abduction going on. Now if we look at this person up here, this is the same lady, right? And here, we're starting in a certain position, and not only are her legs in the middle, but she's in a flexed position, right? There's a certain angle here in between her trunk and her legs. It's like 90 degrees here, right, between these two, if you had to figure that out. Now, when she goes back, right, she's making that angle bigger, okay? So it's going back. That must be making the angle bigger, so we have an extension motion of the leg, okay? Just like you see when you do squats, right? When you stand straight back up, or for that matter, when you're walking up a set of stairs, right? Every time you do that with each leg one at a time, you're doing a squat with that one leg. Again, here we've got Goofy, right? This is an adducted position where the legs are just kind of relaxed, right? But if we look at Goofy in this position, the leg is abducted. Again, this is a glute workout, okay? All right, so I actually didn't even know this dog actually flushed their own toilet. But what I wanted to indicate to you guys is the part where this dog is walking up to, like he's going to pee on a hydrant, right? In this case, he's peeing in the urinal, but that gets all of the motions of the gluteus in at once. Extension, so the leg comes back. Abduction, the leg goes out, and there's even rotation going on. It's rotating out to the side, okay? You're lucky that you're not in class with me because I usually demonstrate these things, which is also fun. But that's it for gluteus maximus, okay? I think that's enough for now for that one. All right, let's do all the quads. The quadriceps are, actually there's 4 of them, big surprise, right? And there's one that goes down the middle, okay, called rectus femoris. There's one that goes down the side, on the outside, vastus lateralis. Big surprise, it's lateral, okay? There's a set that goes down the medial side, vastus medialis. And what you don't see here, I'll put a dotted line here next to the red one, is that underneath the rectus femoris, there is another one called vastus intermedius. It's a deeper muscle. You'd have to remove the rectus femoris to see this one. Okay? But they all have their origin up near the hip, and they all have an insertion down here on the tibia, on the close to that tibial tuberosity. So what it's going to do is it's going to straighten that leg. It's going to pull the front of that tibia forward. Okay? All of the quads can do this. All right? And so here we have an action where that is occurring. Okay? Now when this person is down squatting, okay, and then stands straight up, well when they're down squatting, of course that gluteus maximus is going to be involved, right? With extending the leg, okay? But now we're talking about what are the quads doing to help you to lift up like that, okay? They're going to pull on the front of that tibia, okay? So this extension of the knee is going alongside extension of the leg, is it not, right? The whole thigh is going back, extending, at the same time that the knee is extending. So you see how a squat is actually getting the gluteus maximus involved with extension of the leg in general, extension of the femur. And then here we have extension of the tibia at the knee joint going on as well, okay? All right, here we have just a normal kicking motion, right? So anytime that you kick that tibia out, those quadriceps are involved. Extension at the knee. So that's the nice thing is that for all four of these muscles, you can just remember knee extension. All right. Hamstring muscles. There's three muscles that are the hamstrings, and they're all in the back. Okay, we have three different ones: semitendinosus, semimembranosus, and another one called the biceps femoris. Okay, but as a group, they all can do a similar motion. One thing they can do is they can, as you can see on the knee there, they're going to flex the knee. Okay, so they're doing quite the opposite as the quadriceps do. The quadriceps are going to cause knee flexion, knee extension, excuse me, and the hamstrings are going to cause knee flexion. So the nice thing here is, and there's another one, right? The bands are causing resistance, and this person is flexing the knee. Hamstrings are involved. Again, hamstrings are involved every time we flex those knees. Okay. All right. Next set, we've got a couple of groin muscles. One of the groin muscles, one of the sets of groin muscles, they are going to go from the hip, from the pubic bones, to the femur itself. These are adductors. They're gonna go from the pubic bone to the femur, and it's going to pull the femur in. The gracilis muscle rides all the way down to the tibia, if you'd believe that, okay? All the way down to the tibia. But it also is along the inside of the leg, so it's going to pull the leg in. So this is equivalent to like when we pulled our arms in, adduction. So we would say leg or thigh adduction. So it makes sense that some of these muscles are called adductors, right? I have adductor longus on the list, adductor magnus on the list. Both of them are adductor muscles. The gracilis just happens to be a little bit longer muscle. So I think of this motion, right? Moving legs in and out. If you think about it, right? Every time the legs are brought out, well, I'd have to imagine that's abduction, so we've got your butt to thank for that motion, right? Anytime that they're moved in, like this lady's doing over here, then you're going to have your adductor muscles, like this combination that I just mentioned. They're going to bring the knees closer to one another. Okay, so I've got ace ventura, pet detective doing this, and I think of just, with this one, I think of it like you got a P motion, right? Bringing the legs together would be an adduction motion. All right, we also have a muscle called sartorius. The sartorius muscle is like a sash around the legs, if you can think of it that way. It starts out here on the ilium. Actually, it starts a little higher up here. It starts up here on the ilium. Pretty close to where the anterior superior iliac spines are. So when you lay down in bed, it's easier to find these. These kind of stick up a little bit if on your hip bones. This is where the sartorius begins. And it runs along the leg towards the middle and attaches to the inside of, to the inside of the tibia. Okay, so right there. Runs all the way down to the inside of the tibia. And when it pulls, okay, it's going to pull and manipulate the legs. It's going to pull this way at an angle, okay? So I always think of a guy crossing his legs, okay? So you're going to have to lift your leg up, you're going to have to bend the knee and rotate the leg out, okay? So just watch this guy as he does this, right? Lifts up, bends the knee, and then there's a rotation outward, right? Notice that this thigh here is rotating outward, a lateral rotation of the leg. So we have three things going on. We have the flexion of the leg as you bring the leg out. Stand up and do this for you. So hopefully you guys can see, okay? So we're going to have the movement upward. That's the flexion of the thigh or of the femur. We're going to have the lateral rotation, okay, or external rotation of the thigh, and then we're going to have that bending of the leg, okay, so we're going to have knee flexion. So leg flexion or thigh flexion, lateral rotation of the leg, and then knee flexion, okay. The sartorius, I always think of it as like the crossing your legs muscle. Okay, and it is the longest muscle of the body. A little trivia for you. It's the longest skeletal muscle we have. Okay. All right, we're getting there. We're down to the last couple or three here. Now we're down in the lower leg. We're talking calf muscles now. And we have a soleus and a gastrocnemius. Okay, so the gastrocnemius is the more substantial muscle down here. Okay, it's got two parts to it. It's got a medial side, medial head they say, and a lateral head. Okay, two parts to the sartorius, or to the gastrocnemius. And then down a little bit lower, okay, you can find it off to the sides here. We've got the soleus, okay? But these do have something in common. Both the gastrocnemius and the sartorius, gastrocnemius and the soleus, I keep saying that, they have an attachment point which is the calcaneus bone down here on the heel, okay? Now these muscles, both of them, are going to pull that heel from above. Okay, and that's going to just make you point your toes. Okay, so I've got this image of ballet dancers, right? When they point their toes out, this would definitely be action of the gastrocnemius and or soleus. Now, one of these muscles has much more power, and if you use them right, you can jump off the ground as high as you can in the air. That would be gastrocnemius. It has more power, but if you try to jump in the air as many times as you can you'd probably get pooped after a while, right? You know, maybe a minute, I don't know. It wouldn't take long for you to get tired. So the power is there, but the endurance is not. The soleus muscle gives you more endurance, okay? So when you push the foot forward like that, you do that every time you take a step. When you push off to go forward. And you could walk for miles probably, right? If you could walk much longer than you could jump, we'll just say that. Okay, so here we have the action of the calf muscles, both gastrocnemius and soleus. So every time you run, if you run, you're pushing your body forward. These legs that are behind her have just sprung forward, and you've got these calf muscles working for you. Every time you jump, okay, every time they jump, there's this, especially the gastrocnemius, right, to get off the floor like that, is really giving you that spring, okay? All right, now let's think about someone who is running. As they push off forward, they're going to use the gastrocnemius and or soleus. But in their front foot, they're going to have to pick up their front foot so they don't trip over their own foot as they throw their foot forward, okay? And this would involve a muscle in the front of the tibia, okay? So here now, we're talking about muscle in front of the tibia that's going to pull up on the top of the foot, okay? Pulling up on the top of the foot as you take a step forward, all right? So if we watch this, I mean, these guys look funny, but I thought it made the point here pretty well for these speed walkers, that you see the bottom of their shoe each time. You can see the bottom of her shoe because she's picking up her foot. Otherwise, she would, people would literally trip over their own foot if they didn't do this, okay? So you need both the flexion going on in the back, right, pointing your toes. That's called plantar flexion. Okay, that was from the last slide. Neglected to mention that. Okay, so plantar flexion is gastrocnemius and soleus, springing off with the sole of your foot. Okay, so gastrocnemius and soleus, plantar flexion. This motion where you're bringing the foot up, like you see going on here, is also a flexion, believe it or not. So here you have a corny looking guy, but you can also see his front of the foot here. Okay, that's called dorsiflexion. Okay, so to run, you're going to need plantar flexion to push off, gastrocnemius and soleus, and you need dorsiflexion to pick your foot up so you don't trip over your foot. All right. All right, guys. I hope that helped. Usually we do these on campus together, and I'm doing calisthenics in front of you and looking crazy, but hopefully this helped, and hopefully these gifts I found help you to remember them. Okay.